My name is Chelsea Corkins, and I am a 4-H specialist here in Saline County in the Northwest region. Similar output to as yesterday. We'll do a little bit of an activity. We'll talk about today some simple machines, but I just want to give you a bit of an intro to start off with things. We aren't starting yet. I'll get started here in about 4 minutes. The kind of interest behind our programming here is to provide some virtual learning for our 4-Hers, as we might not be able to meet face-to-face at this time. We're going to cover a variety of topics. You might have seen on our Facebook today, actually, we posted 9 weeks worth of content that we're going to cover. We are so excited to get to engage with our youth throughout these 9 weeks, so please share that as far and wide as you can. We're actually even thinking about expanding that, so get excited for some new information coming out, hopefully at the end of the week about that. Right now, like I said, the plan is to go through May 15th. Anyone is welcome across the state of Missouri, outside of the state of Missouri. You don't need to be actively enrolled in 4-H to come and enjoy our projects, but we do want you all to know that this is meant to be in addition to traditional project meetings. So if you're enrolled in a project, make sure you're still going to those project meetings that your project leaders are holding. Our content is generally meant for all ages. The younger ones might need a little help with some items, but some of the older kids might help them out a little bit. It's also a good thing, though, for our older kids that might be tuning in to get some ideas of how they might be able to do some demonstrations on these topics in the future. Yesterday, we did how to make homemade ice cream and how that ties into different states of matter. So that's a really cool science idea, food science idea. So definitely keep that in mind. If you have any questions throughout this broadcast, please feel free to leave it in the comments or reach out to us in Messenger. We're going to try and feed those as much as we can, answer those live if we can. So I am going to go and get a last few minute things, and then we will start here in about 2 minutes. Thanks. Well, hello everyone, and welcome to our 4-H live virtual learning, online learning through Missouri 4-H. We are excited to have you all here today to be a part of our programming, to get to see a little bit and learn a little bit about simple machines and engineering design. For those of you who might have missed our live feed yesterday, it is posted onto Saline County, Pettis County, a whole bunch of counties. It's been shared across Missouri, which we are so excited about. Feel free to tune in there. It is a recorded video, so you can go back, pause it, rewind it, anything you want to do to be able to interact with that video at any time that you'd want. So feel free to go back and learn about that. We made some homemade ice cream and learned about states of matter. So we got to learn about how liquids could become solids and how those could become gases, lots of different things going on there. And we made ice cream, which I must say was pretty awesome. So if you have any thoughts about how that went yesterday, feel free to drop them in the comments. We would love to hear that, especially if you have any pictures of your kiddos doing that project. If you're not comfortable sharing it publicly, feel free to drop it to us in Messenger, Facebook Messenger. We would love to be able to talk about how some of the exciting things we've been doing for our kids and what they're able to do at home. So let me bring my notes up, because I did a good teacher thing where I went back and watched my own video from yesterday, and there were a couple simple things I forgot to do, such as one, introduce myself. My name is Chelsea Corkins, and I am a 4-H specialist here in Saline County. I also cover Carroll and Sheraton counties. Together with a couple more partners in Northwest and West Central region, we are bringing you 4-H Live, covering a wide span of topic areas. You might have seen today that we posted one for 9 whole weeks, programs going through May 15th. We are very excited that more and more of the state is getting involved on this, so you're going to see a lot more faces than just myself, which is great. You want to hear from the experts. You want to hear from people who know all of the details. So I did also see one other cool thing that another state was doing, since we're all 4-Hers today, everyone who's watching this video, is that we'll start with the 4-H pledge. We have a pledge here in 4-H so that we know that we have a common goal, things that us as youth and as adults even are really trying to strive for. So I'm going to hold our poster up in front of the Facebook Live, and you can all say it with me. Have it both in English and Spanish, so you could say it for either language that might be better for you, okay? So we're going to start with, I pledge my head to clearer thinking, my heart to greater loyalty, my hands to larger service, my health to better living, for my club, my community, my country, and my world. Awesome. So definitely keep this in mind if you are currently in 4-H, or if you're out there and might be interested in joining 4-H in the future, whether that's Missouri or in any other state that you might be in. We would love to have you. That 4-H pledge is something we really strive for, like I said, really trying to serve our different entities, whether that's local or on a national level or even beyond that. So, all right, let's get to some wonderful education today. So today's topic, as you saw from our post, is simple machines and engineering design. So I am actually an engineer by training. I loved it. I loved getting to think like an engineer, but I really missed the teaching part. So that's why I'm back here with you all today. So we're going to start off today talking about simple machines, and then we're going to do a little bit of a hands-on activity, and then I actually am going to give you a bit of a challenge that you can keep working on throughout the night, throughout the next day, maybe even over the weekend. Make it as unique as you want. Okay, so what is a simple machine? Let's start with that. What even does that mean? Well, these are machines that when put together can do something a little more complex. Depending on who you talk to, there's anywhere from 5 to 6 to 7 of them. We're going to go over 5 of the most common and talk about another one in there, and then you're going to get to use some of those in an engineering design. Pretty cool. All right, so let's go ahead and get started. This is the part I didn't really practice very well, so let's see how well I can flip pieces of paper. All right, so like I said, today we're going to cover 5 of our simple machines. So let's start with our first one. Maybe even some of our youth out there are going, oh, I know what these are. So if you know some of them, go ahead and tell them to your parent or another sibling that might be there with you today. Let them know what you think the simple machines are before I reveal some of them. But we'll go ahead and start with our first one, which is an inclined plane. All right, so an inclined plane is an up and down ramp. So you'll think of these a lot of ramps. This example here is a wheelchair ramp. This spreads work over a longer distance. So work is how hard we have to, work to do something, to get something to move forward. How much energy are you putting into something? A ramp, because it starts out lower and goes to something higher, decreases the amount of work that we have to do within any one instance. It's going to spread it out over that whole thing. So some examples you might have in your own home. You might have a wheelchair ramp like this house does. You might have ramps for pets. My family used to have a dachshund, and it struggled sometimes getting up on our couches, so we had a little ramp for it to use. Pipes are also an example within our homes. Some pipes use gravity, if they're gravity fed, to use that energy, spread it out over a longer distance to be able to keep that water moving down it. All right, so the second simple machine we're going to cover today are wedges. So a wedge is similar to an inclined plane, but it's moving. That's the important difference between an inclined plane and a wedge, is that our wedge is something that's going to be moving. This inclined plane stays in put. So examples of a wedge would be our image right here, a knife. So you probably have some of these in your home. You know how it's sharp and it comes to a point? Well, it starts out broader as you move further up the knife, and that's the wedge that's being formed. So when you use your energy to cut down with that knife, you're actually using an inclined plane or a wedge to do the work that you want to get done. Other examples would be veggie peelers, nails, metal nails, or push pins. So you've probably seen a couple of those around your house. That push pin comes to a little point at the end. That's a wedge, and that's a simple machine. So you've probably been using a lot of simple machines, and you didn't even know it. Also under our inclined planes are screws. Sometimes those are listed as a different category because that's an inclined plane around an axis. So what's an axis? An axis is one point that stays still. All right, so we've dealt with screws before. I've got one here in my pocket. We can see our screw. They're right in the middle. Oh no, I might have frozen. We'll see if it pops back up. Right there in the middle is our axis. When we start turning this, that axis isn't going to move. It's only our outside, our inclined plane, that's going to start moving. What did we say about inclined planes? It puts that work over a longer distance. So the energy that we have to put to get that screw to move into something is spread out further. So that means I don't have to push quite as hard. It can be spread out over that inclined plane. So there's an example of an inclined plane that is a little bit different. It's a screw. You also have screws through things like your jar lids and light bulbs. Think about how you screw a light bulb in. That's a screw. That's an inclined plane. All right, so number 3 that we're going to cover today are pulleys. All right, so pulleys are pretty cool because they are a wheel and a rope that move an object up and down. A cool experiment you can do at home over a set of swing sets is to throw a rope over the swing set, pull it on one side, and see how heavy it is for you to pull up the object on the other. Maybe you've got a brick on the other side. You don't have to put in a lot of energy. But if you have a pulley that is going to rotate with that string, just like what would happen here, the wheel rotates with the string, you put in less energy to have to move that object. So this is the way that we're able to move objects up and down with less energy. Examples like this, there's actually one right behind me. See up there on the window, we've got some window blinds. When you pull that lever, that string that hangs down, up top is a little pulley usually that you're using to pull up the material on your wind blinds. Also examples are flagpoles. So for those who come to our 4-H camp or any 4-H camp across Missouri, you might have some flagpoles that you end up raising or lowering the flag. Almost all of those are set up with at least 1, if not 2 pulley systems on them. Awesome. Okay, so number 4 is our wheel and axle. So you've probably seen a lot of these around your house. And remember, there are examples like these all around your house. So maybe as I'm going through these, you can even think, look around your room, see what you've got there, what examples you might be able to see right in front of you. So this wheel and axle, it is a wheel rotating around an axle. That's exactly what it is. We have a lot of examples of these around our houses, things like wheelbarrows. Maybe you've got a vacuum cleaner not too far from where you're sitting right now. Does it have a wheel on it? It's a wheel and axle. Another example is fishing reels. How many are in our sports fishing project here in 4-H? You've got that reel that you use to roll up your line. That is also a wheel and axle. Door hinges are an elongated wheel, so we've got a lot more wheel and axles. Whenever we've got a spot that is a fixed point and then something that goes around it, that's wheel and axle. All right, and our final one are levers. Let's look at our example of a lever here. This is a stick or a plane that rotates around a fixed fulcrum. Oh, fulcrum, okay, big word, but it's similar to an axle in that it stays put. So think about if you ever used a crowbar before. Some of us maybe have. You've got a spot that you keep staying right there, and then you use your weight to push down on one end. That stays exactly where it is, and the other end starts to go up a little bit. So there you go. You've got your lever that you're able to use some leverage on one side to pop open the other side. Another example of this is a seesaw. How many of us have gone on seesaws before? Yeah, that was maybe one of my favorite ones. I might have gotten a few bumped chins on a few of those as I've been growing up, but those are levers as well. You're using one side that's going up and the other's going down, all on that fixed fulcrum. Remember, we said that's a fulcrum that stays right in the middle there. Awesome. So I'm really excited to see a couple of our likes and our comments coming in. Feel free to drop more comments or more thoughts as we go through. I see that we've got some people from sports fishing, which I am so excited for. I really love getting to fish, and so I'm excited to be a part of that this year. All right, so we're not going to just give you these items and then do nothing with them. If you haven't noticed my style, that's definitely not what we do here. Today, we're going to be talking about the engineering design and how we're going to apply these together. All right, so as any good engineer, like I said, starting off, I'm an engineer by trade. Since then, I've gotten back into teaching, which I absolutely love and hope I can continue to do for a very long time. But for any good engineer, we always look for one thing. We look for the problem, and we want to find out how to solve it. So that's what you're going to do today. Okay, so as a good engineer, we're going to have a problem. So let's start with that problem. So many of you probably have these items around your house, and I'll give you a couple seconds to go get them if you do. Got a ball, and I've got a cup. My problem is, I want the ball inside of that cup. But how am I going to get it there? All right, so I'll give everyone a couple minutes. If you want to go get a ball, it could be a softball, it could be a baseball, it could be a football if you want to use a different shaped ball. Mine's just a normal plastic ball, kind of like ones you get from like the, McDonald's ball pit. And then any size cup. Preferably plastic, just in case we knock it over. Try to avoid glass. Sometimes that'll break. Metal cups are fine too if you like being a little noisy around the house, but grab a cup, grab a ball. We weren't very specific with our materials today. Probably should have mentioned these, but go ahead and grab one of each. If you can't grab one right now, can't find them somewhere, no problem. That's why we record the video and you can come back and do it later too. All right, so our task for today is to get this ball into this cup. But it's not that easy. Never that easy. Your task is to complete that, get that ball into that cup, using 2 or more different simple machines. So of course I was able to show you some of the simple machines, and we're actually going to use them for something. So your task is to take some of these simple machines, 2 or more preferably, and achieve what challenge I've given you. Now this is oftentimes referred to as a Rube Goldberg problem. So he was known as an inventor who really liked solving simple problems. Look how simple that is. I want the ball in the cup, that's easy. But he liked doing it through very complex solutions, which is what we're going to do here. We want to use our different simple machines to be able to get to a problem in the long run. Okay, well let me tell you a little bit about the engineering design process first, because this is how we're going to get about how do we solve this problem. All right, so the engineering design. It's 5 steps, but you'll notice that it goes in a circle. Kind of, you've seen some of our scientific methods. Sometimes those can go in a circle as well. Our engineering design is the same way. So if you're an engineer, these are the steps you're going to use. All right, so generally we're going to start off with ask right here. We're going to say, what is our problem? Well, our problem is we want to get our ball into our cup. What are our constraints? What are our criteria? What do we have to do in order to solve that problem? Well, we have to use 2 or more simple machines. All right, so that's our ask. Then we move to our imagine. Our imagine is where we brainstorm, where we say, okay, what are some solutions I could come up with? Well, if I didn't have my constraints, I could just take that ball and put it right into the cup. But we've got that constraint, so we are going to have to imagine some different ways to do that. Then we move into this plan part. Sometimes we forget about this and forget how important it is to plan ahead, but we want to plan to get things going. So some examples of how you can do that. You could draw a list. You can write out the materials you might need. Say you want to solve our problem. What are 2 things you're going to need? A cup and a ball. And maybe you're going to say, I want to use a wedge. Well, then you got to find a wedge. Let's go find a wedge, put that on our list, and figure out how we might be able to go from there. Once we've got a plan, we move into our create. Don't jump to this too early. You see, this is the 4th part of our process. Then you get into our create, where we follow that plan and we test. One of the most important things about engineering, if you remember nothing else from this live feed, is that engineering is about making mistakes. We want to test things, and we want to realize that we might do things wrong. That's how we learn. That's okay. That's a big part of 4-H. We might try things and then realize that we did them wrong, but we want to learn from them, and that's good. So we're going to the create, where we're going to test what we had on our plan, and then finally, we go to our improve. How are we going to make it better? What worked? What didn't work? What do we want to do again? What don't we do again? Modify and make it better. Then you'll notice that goes back around, because even after we modify and make things better, we need to go back to that original question and say, all right, did I solve the problem at hand? Did I meet my constraints and my criteria? And if not, maybe we need to start over and do it again. And that's okay. That's part of the engineering design process. All right. So I want to tie this all up for you by giving you a few examples that you might be able to use at home of how you would be able to develop your solving your task of taking that ball and getting it into a cup using some of our different simple machines. So let me go and grab some of those, and I'll be right back. Okay, so while you're thinking about this task of putting your ball into a cup, there's a few other objects that are going to be probably pretty helpful for you. Some of my favorites are some building blocks. You can use them separately, you can stack them directly on top, move them around to the side. These will help you form some of your simple machines. I also really like having some string. So many uses for string. You could use yarn, you could use shoelaces, but make sure you're asking your parents or an adult before you cut any of their string. depending on what you're cutting everything. So make sure that you're asking them first. Then probably one of my favorite parts, tape, duct tape. I have green, I have pink, I have rainbow. I like using it all the time. It helps kind of keep our simple machines together. Sometimes they like to move a little bit, so they're good to have around. So some tape might be good. And don't forget your marker, because you need to plan first. And in order to plan, we need to write things down. So that's very important. All right, so our first simple machine is an inclined plane. So I've got a handy dandy book, got some of my blocks. Let's see if I can get that ball into a cup using an inclined plane. All right, so I'll put my cup down here. Let's see if this works. All right, see, I've already used one simple machine in my Rube Goldberg just by putting the ball on the top of an inclined plane, releasing it, and letting it fall right into that cup. So you might be able to think about how could I use an inclined plane to be able to get my ball into the cup. All right, let me grab the next one. All right, so our next one is a wedge. Do you remember what a wedge is? Common ones are knives, as well as scissors. That'd be two wedges. You know how they're getting sharp there on the edge. So again, I've got my ball, I've got my cup. Let's see if we could use a wedge to get the ball into the cup. There we go. So using the wedge, I was able to get the ball into the cup. So I was able to break the barrier that was keeping my ball from getting into that cup. So you could use something like that. All right, let me grab my next one. So our next example is a pulley system. This one's going to be a little bit different because I'm actually going to have my cup in a different position than standing on a table. No one said that your cup had to be sitting on a table. You can get creative about where this could be. All right. So I'm going to start with my ball hanging down a little bit. I'm going to put my cup upside down like this. I'm going to take some marbles or some weights. You might find some heavy weights around your house. Marbles are always a good one. Drop them into one side, and up goes my cup, or up goes my ball into my cup. Awesome. So we use the energy from putting the marbles in one side to move the ball up into the cup. So you can use a pulley. All right, we've got two more, right? We've got through our pulley, got wheel and axle, and a lever. All right. So now we've got our wheel and axle. I always liked playing with these little guys when I was a kid. These are just cars that we got from the store, wheel and axle there. You might have a lot of different ones. Maybe you've got a tractor or something that you could use that could be a wheel and axle. This one either could, see if I can get the cup to balance, or the ball to balance, could either, oh, see, and that one didn't work. So I tested it, but I might be able to replan and then test it again. So what do we think we have to do to make that work better? Probably hit the truck a little harder? Probably. So let's try that. There we go, and now it worked. You can also think about it a little creatively. Maybe your wheel and axle could carry your ball. Maybe you could get it going and it could actually move the ball with it. Think of some different creative ways that you could get that simple machine integrated. All right, now our final one, our lever. This one might be one of my personal favorites. We'll see if I can get it to work today. So we're going to take our plane, similar to a seesaw. We're going to put it on a fulcrum, which today is a book here. We're going to take our ball, put it on one end. There we go. What do you think we're going to do? Hit this end here. We're going to see if it can go into the cup. Oh, so not hard enough. And that's okay. That just means that I want to try again and either move the cup closer. I want to hit the ball harder. I want to try some different things, see what might work better. So let's try again. Oops. Oh, almost got it. Okay, so I'm headed in the right direction, but I've got a lever that I might be able to use for my simple machine design. All right, so those are some examples of our different simple machines. We've talked through that engineering design process, thinking about how we ask our question, we imagine what we might be able to do, we plan ahead, we create, and then we improve. It's okay if it doesn't work the first time, because engineering is all about making mistakes and then making them better as you keep going. Don't forget, we've got our 5 different simple machines: our incline plane, wedge, pulley, wheel and axle, and lever that we want to integrate into that Rube Goldberg project that we're going to work on. So feel free to work on that for as long as you've got today. Maybe even work on it a little bit tomorrow or over the weekend. What I'd love for our kids to do, though, if you're okay with it, is to take pictures and videos of what you've been doing and upload those into the comments on this live feed. We'd love to see what they're doing, see what their end projects look like. If you'd rather send them to us in a Facebook message, that's not a problem. We want to respect everyone's privacy as well, so feel free to do that. And I think that's about it. We, of course, want to encourage everyone, remind you that 4-H Missouri 4-H is live and kicking. We are here and we are doing programming. And if you are interested in getting your youth involved in a local club, reach out to your county office. Reach out to your youth programming associate or your 4-H specialist. We'll find ways to get your kid involved, get them involved in 4-H clubs, in projects, in county, regional, and state activities, and maybe even into some national activities. We've got something for everyone, and we are really excited to have you here. So thank you all for joining me. Hopefully some of my colleagues were able to answer any of the questions that might have come up during this live feed. Tomorrow we will be doing sugar rock candy. So more experiments, more science experiments going. And then get ready, because I think we're going to have some even more exciting things rolling out at Missouri 4-H pretty soon. Don't worry, just because we can't be face-to-face with you doesn't mean we're going to lose our quality at all. All right, I'll see you all later. Thanks so much. Bye.